I have a question about court proceedings. Let's start with Jonathan Turley.
Former President Donald Trump whined like a baby in front of a Manhattan courtroom as he was set to appear for a civil fraud trial. Now, before I get into the details here, this is separate from the 4 criminal indictments. So this is just another example of his illegal activity. And I'll get to later on why it's very clear that he's guilty here. But in this situation, he could be fined up to $250 million and potentially be forced to give up all of his New York State properties as well. So I'll get to what he did in just a second. I'll get to some clips of him in front of the courtroom and in the courtroom. But first, this is just, I got to start with the images here because these are wonderful. Here is Trump at the trial. Not looking very happy here. Yeah. But, he knows the cameras are on him. He's trying to be all stoic. This is a man that has been involved in so much criminal activity his entire life. He is finally, potentially going to face some real repercussions here. I am very much looking forward to that. Now, before I get to the first clip, more details here from NBC News. In his opening statement, Kevin Wallace of the AG's office told the judge that Trump and officials at his company had engaged in, quote, persistent illegal acts with overly inflated financial statements with values that were determined by Donald Trump. He said Trump overvalued his financial statements between $812 million and $2.2 billion, knowing they were false, and used them to obtain benefits, including loans at terms he was not entitled to. And of course, the defense from Trump is that, no, they are worth that much, which gets to this clip here. So Trump facing this, this potential fine for $250 million for inflating his assets. Well, in this discussion in front of the cameras here, he is continuing this inflation of his assets. Check this out.
They have one property that's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times what this judge put down as a value. Put down a value $18 million, and the property's probably worth, could be anywhere from 50 to 100 times more than that. And a lot of those numbers could even be low. We have other properties, the same thing, so he devalued everything. I didn't even put in my best asset, which is the brand, in terms of value. Coca-Cola, take a look at their value. They have a value. The value of their brand is more than everything else put together. My brand is extremely valuable. I didn't even use it in my financials. If I wanted to build up a financial statement, I would have built it up by using brand in addition to everything else. We have the greatest properties.
All right, Trump here claiming his brand is just like Coca-Cola. I'm going to get to, just separate from this case, how Trump's properties devalued while he was president, or just after he was president as well, because of how unpopular he is. This idea that Trump and Coca-Cola, oh yes, go hand in hand, is so completely absurd. But in this case, so the ruling happened last week. It's very clear here that how Trump was lying. So in his ruling on Tuesday, the judge said Trump inflated the value of his own Trump Tower residence between $114 million and $207 million, including claiming the property was triple its actual size in square feet. So even if you want to claim, well, Trump really thought his property was worth more, when you triple the size of the property in square feet to try and match the value you were making it out to be, that shows you are committing fraud. There's no denying. You can't. There are facts here. Here is a fact. There's a certain amount of square feet the property is. You can't triple it and pretend that was just your opinion. Quote, a discrepancy of this order of magnitude by a real estate developer sizing up his own living space of decades can only be considered fraud. Now, in terms of the history of Trump, or I should say the recent history of Trump's properties, this from The Guardian, from a 2-year-old article, Trump properties suffer price slump as gilded name loses its shine. So this idea that, just like Coca-Cola, it's so ridiculous. Buildings emblazoned with the Trump moniker once attracted the rich and famous. Now apartments are going for bargain prices. So here's an example. It's a plunge that outpaces drops in many similar buildings. So this goes to as well that this isn't just because of the, I don't know, the pandemic, for example. These drops are unique to Trump and his properties. So it outpaces drops in many similar buildings, leaving units for sale in Trump buildings to be had for hundreds of thousands to up to $1 million less than they would have gone 4 years ago. Quote, they're giving them away, says Lane Blue, who paid $160,500 in March for a studio in Trump's Las Vegas tower, $350,000 less than the seller paid in 2008. It was his second purchase in the building this year. It may not be his last. So this guy's betting on the value of these places, these properties going up. But more here. After Trump was accused of whipping up the mob that stormed the Capitol on Jan 6, things got really bad. Banks vowed not to lend to him. The PGA canceled a tournament at his New Jersey golf course, and New York City fired him as a manager of a public course in the Bronx. Several brokers say many potential buyers won't even look at Trump buildings now. Quote, I'd be happy if his name was taken off, says Gary Gabriel, who owns an apartment in Trump Palace on Manhattan's Upper East Side. Quote, it's embarrassing. This idea that Trump properties are respected, that the Trump name is respected, the brand, just like Coca-Cola, it's complete fantasy. Now, let me get to just a quick clip here because I have a hard time watching more than 10 seconds of this, so I know you will have a hard time watching it as well. It's more of his attempt at a defense. I want to show this, though, because it showcases that Trump has no real defense. So what does he do? He attacks the attorney general and the judge.
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time. We have a rogue judge who rules that properties are worth a tiny fraction, 1/100th, a tiny fraction of what they actually are. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show, who ran on the basis that she was going to get Trump before she even knew anything about me. She used this to run for governor. She failed in her attempt to run for governor. She had virtually no polling. She came back and she said, well, now I'll go back to get Trump again. And this is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham.
Okay, so why did you triple the square footage of your Trump tower? There's no defense of any of this. It's just, oh, the judge, crooked, the AG, everyone's after me. It's a witch hunt. If there was an actual defense, he would use it. He has no defense because you can't defend tripling the square footage of Trump Tower. Now, what's left here? Oh, yes. So this also helps to showcase why Trump is clearly guilty, if it wasn't already clear. It's because somebody already went to jail for this. Alan Weisselberg, the company's former chief financial officer, is also set to take the stand, in addition to Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer. In a criminal trial last year, Weisselberg testified against the Trump organization and was sentenced to 5 months in jail in connection with his role in the company's 15-year tax fraud scheme. Alan Weisselberg already went to jail. So, if somebody who was already guilty of this, guess what? Trump, the guy whose name is on the buildings, also guilty. Couple last things here. This is Trump. I'm not sure. There's no point doing this full screen, really. Just a Fox News clip, but maybe I'll do small full screen here. I'll go down here. Let's just watch Trump in the court. There's Fox commentary over it, so you can't hear anything in the trial. But there he is. It's just fun to watch. It's nice to see. I guess I should say. It's like, you wake up in the morning. There's a beautiful sunrise. Seeing Trump in a courtroom, just like that. Wonderful, beautiful. Last thing here is Letitia James, the New York AG.
My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it. The law is both powerful and fragile. And today in court, we will prove our case. I thank you all for being here. And again, justice will prevail. Thank you.
No matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. Look, she's right. This is a great message. You could also Trump's defense is that, oh, she's doing this to help her politically. I think this will help her politically. This does make her look good, but that's because she's correct to go after you for being a criminal. So both things can be true. Just because it's going to maybe help how Letitia James comes off to people doesn't mean that she's wrong to do what she's doing. I am looking forward to all of the future cases against Trump. Again, this is not one of the 4 criminal indictments. This is a civil fraud trial, but it's the start of many more trials to come.